Hi, everyone. This is Aaron, and you are listening to Walnut Commentary, the official podcast for the pastors and leaders of FCBC Walnut. In this special episode, I spoke with Pastor Hanley, the English pastor of FCBC Walnut, and we recorded this episode live on Instagram. We talk about how our church is responding to COVID-19, how Christians should think about it, and what we can do to plan and prepare. Because this was first broadcasted live on Instagram, please excuse the lower sound quality today. We will continue to learn and work on improving it for future episodes. I'm also in the middle of upgrading my production setup, but with everything going on, this might take some time. Thanks for listening. Hi everyone, this is Aaron, and we're going live on Instagram, Walnut Commentary. I'm going to call Pastor Hanley, and we're going to try to make this happen. Okay, Hanley, I see you. I'm going to invite you to the call, and we're going to go live. This is Walnut Commentary. Walnut Commentary is actually the name of our podcast that we do, but considering the circumstances, I think it will be a good time to take a live video call. Hanley is the English pastor of FCBC Walnut. Let's see if I can get him here. I'm calling him right now to join. There you are. I see you.
So,
Hey man, hey, thanks for
you
joining.
know what the problem was?
What was the problem?
I had to allow microphone and camera access.
Oh,
And
good
that
job.
tells you what a boomer I am, even though I'm not a boomer. I'm not a boomer.
No,
Not even
you're
40 yet.
No. You're Hanley. How are you, man? How are you? I watched your sermon on the internet. I watched it at 2 times speed. Is that wrong? Like I don't want to. My hands were a little bit full at the time, so I had to watch it at double speed.
Well, you know that naturally I talk fast. I used to, but I slow down so people can understand what I'm saying. So 2 times speed is about right.
I mean, next time I'll try to watch it at normal speed. I couldn't do it this time. I had to watch it at 2 times speed. But how did you feel? So you pre-recorded the sermon? Yesterday at 3 p.m. The AV team faithfully showed up. It was the AV team, Pastor Terrence, Pastor Chiho, and Pastor Frank. So that's it. And Uncle Raymond was around, janitorial staff, being faithful, doing their work. It was weird. It was weird because, I don't know where to look. If you look up at the camera, it's like you're looking up like this. Right.
I don't know if you guys noticed, they changed the baptismal cover.
I saw that, man. I think
it looked a little interesting.
Interesting is the right word.
But I think they're probably gonna make that adjustment. They're probably gonna change that up. But I mean, it was weird. So definitely we prayed together and we said, hey, let's go. We just preached to an almost near empty Mac. But I mean, this was the idea of the AV team and Deacon David that initiated this, and I appreciate them because originally when we made the decision to cancel on Thursday, we said, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to record sermons. We're going to move away from Matthew, and we're going to record sermons. And Terrence, you're going to hold the phone and record me, and I'll hold the phone and record Frank. And we just didn't want to bother anyone because it was so late in the week. But the AV team stepped up and they initiated, so I appreciated it.
Oh, of course, man. I'm sure everybody's trying to help out. But that extra help from the AV team does benefit everyone else. So were you nervous? Like on a typical Sunday, if you're going up there to preach, like I'm sure there's a little bit of nervousness, maybe some butterflies. Was it the same?
No, honestly, I'm nervous at times outside if I don't know the people. FCBC, I'm very comfortable up there. So on a Sunday, if I'm prepared, then I'm not as nervous. I'm not nervous. This time I wasn't nervous because there's nobody looking at you. So the only thing that was challenging was that having to write that sermon in one day, and then I wrote it in such a way. If you notice, I didn't use big idea. Idea because I was writing it for the entire church because Pastor Chiho and Pastor Franco, the pastoral staff, asked me to write the sermon and to preach it, and they wanted to show unity. So they actually, it's harder for them because they're basically translating in their own words in one night. They translated and they preached my sermon basically, right? So that we would be we would be one, we would be united, which is great. And I'm glad that we could be together that way. So it's probably harder for them. So I try to stay to script. So I read a lot more than usual. I read a lot more, and I didn't know what to do in terms of there's no one looking. Everybody knows that the room is empty. So do you move around at all? I mean, isn't that awkward if I move to one side of the stage as if I'm looking at some people and looking to another side?
People, Did you want to cry? Did you want to cry? Did you feel a little bit of sadness knowing the situation that we're in?
No. I think we've been on crisis mode. So. Adrenaline's up. I didn't feel any need to cry. I felt a lot of love for the church. I started to appreciate just being there. A lot of times we think, oh man, the church is crowded. Or I even made that illustration, which I didn't write in my manuscript, about services with translation. And typically, I think we're almost done. Our church, the size of our church, we can't handle translated services anymore. But it's almost like, there's something we miss about being together. Now, how long, who knows how long it'll be, right? CDC just released something that says, gatherings of 50 or more should be postponed or canceled for up to 8 weeks. That's their recommendation. That's their recommendation. So,
I mean, how do you feel about that? I'm a little bit scared. Should I be scared? Should I be worried?
About church? Church? Like, you mean Jesus' church? Jesus' church is going to prevail. Jesus' church will prevail.
I mean about COVID-19. Like, how should I be thinking about this theologically? Practically? Yeah.
Practically?
Yeah.
Well, I think
as a
we
Christian,
need to be realistic. Okay. I think we need to be. I think we need to be realistic.
Yeah.
We need to understand that. COVID-19, at least in the United States, it seems to be beyond containment. If we're looking at President Trump calling a national emergency last, Friday?
Yeah, Friday. Yeah.
Then we can anticipate that maybe in a week or two, we may be where Italy was last week. And hopefully it doesn't get to that point. But if we somehow go on lockdown, I mean, you see how everything's affected. The economy is impacted. We're all living with some type of paranoia and fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get used to this as the new normal, right? So everything is, work life is adjusted. People are working at home. Classes are canceled and classes are moved online, and churches have to adjust in the same way.
Yeah.
In terms of how we think about it is we need to remember that God created us and he sustains every minute of our lives, and especially for the Christian, the Christ, for the believer. I mean, he knows what's going to happen to us. So
right.
It's interesting to me that America, or the Western world, being so efficient in medicine, not being able to come up with a vaccine. And it's been some time, but God knows, God has the answer. I mean, surely he's got our attention now. And I said it in my sermon already, but the church is united. The church universal, evangelical churches, Bible believing churches are united now. We're all one. And if you look at the news feeds today, I mean, I'm talking about your Facebook news feed or something like that.
Sure.
You look at it in the morning, you see all of these pastors preaching. You see all of these churches going live, and that's powerful, so I think as Christians we have to trust in the sovereignty of God, and we have to believe that if it's not COVID-19, then he knows if we're going to get cancer, if we're going to get in a car accident. I mean, these are things that we can't really control. So I do think we need to practice wise precaution, but we just got to live with faith, and and we got to be an example of light and hope to those who don't have Christ. And hopefully it opens the opportunity for us to share the gospel.
No, I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities, and I'm sure we're gonna walk into these opportunities because we don't know really what's coming our way. Hanley, did seminary prepare you for this when you were going to seminary? Were they like, oh yeah, your church might be, on lockdown, so this is what you need to do?
No. Seminary doesn't. Seminary doesn't prepare you for this. My undergrad major prepared me a little bit.
Yeah. Did you have a plan already in place, or were you like just trying to figure this out? And are you still trying to figure it out right now?
What do you mean plan in place? Like before COVID-19 or within the last 2 weeks?
I think within the last 2 weeks. Like, I guess what I want to know is like, how sure are we as a church going into this right now, and should we be prepared to make adjustments?
We should be prepared to make adjustments, but I'm confident in our plans. And so if you'll remember when I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, this was 3 weeks ago, right? We're talking about what are we going to do if we need to go online?
Yes.
Right? What are we going to do?
Yes.
Remember that conversation? And so already at that point, that Sunday, which was what the second Sunday of March, that was last Sunday, we already told the core team, we said, hey, there's a possibility that we're going to suspend services. Yeah. Here's the protocol. Here's that. The situation wasn't as bad, or at least it wasn't perceived as bad on Tuesday. But in our Tuesday staff meeting, we began to talk about possibilities. So then Wednesday morning, you're an officer, I sent out to the officers, 4 levels of response. Here's the triggers. And this is actually shared information among many churches. Many pastors are sharing the same type of information. So I sent that out to the officers. And this is only because Pastor Albert is in Israel right now. So I'm running the point on that, right? So sending out to officers, sending out to the deacons and saying, hey, and we had 3 triggers: school districts cancel, government recommendation, or COVID-19 breaks out in our area, or 1 or 2 people get infected, or anybody gets infected in your church. Right. Those would be the triggers that cause us to escalate up to the point of level 4, which is where we're kind of at right now, where the campus is shut down. Yeah. And so we had no idea that Wednesday NBA would cancel, Rudy Gobert, whatever, right? But
touching on the microphone.
I mean, we had no idea that it was gonna go crazy. I was actually leading prayer meeting that night, and when I got home, one of the pastors called me and said, "Hey, the situation is pretty bad," and Pastor Terrence PT sent me the text saying, "Hey, Governor Newsom just called for groups to suspend meetings if you're over 250 people or more." So I think because we had that document in place, we're ready to go. So Thursday we called an emergency meeting at 1. I said, "Can everybody meet?" Then at midnight before, I already emailed the deacons to say, "Hey, will you support us and affirm us if we cancel church," basically? And they said yes. So by the time we got 60, so 8 a.m. by 8 or 9 a.m. I had 60% of the deacons affirmed. They all affirmed, but they responded different times. And then so by the time we went into our 1 p.m. meeting, my recommendation to our team was, hey, we're going to suspend and suspend services. And by that time, friends of mine, pastor friends, and most churches were already moving that way. And if they didn't move that way, then on Friday night you already got the message, that most churches aren't meeting, at least in California. Yeah. And so I think that I think we're ready for the next 8 weeks, but we need to learn. I need to learn. I don't know how to do this Instagram. Like turn on my microphone and my camera on my phone.
Hey, you're doing great, man. This is the first time.
I think at the end of the day, basically our work changes. So we do have a plan to move all of our ministry onto virtual space. So the Chinese are already really good at using WhatsApp or Zoom or the small. It's easy for the small groups to do this. Pastor Kevin, if you're listening and you're in youth right now, or you're not listening, if you're watching, I guess, you've already got a lot of correspondence from Kevin. PT is a social media master already. He and Auntie Katie, they got their podcast as well. So we're going to be equipping parents with children's information. I mean, that's the stuff we have to develop. So a lot of our work now is mobile. We got to, and how do you know we're doing our work? Well, you're going to see it delivered some way, So a lot of, and Pastor Albert comes back this week. Right. Praise God.
Yeah.
So Commander in Chief will be back.
Going on? Do they know what's going on in Israel?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like he's going to come back and he's going to be like, what's going on?
No. we keep contact, and he's fully supportive. We pray for them too. So there's constant communication, and when they come back, there's a likely chance that they may have to take 14 days of quarantine. Yeah. Hey, I sent you that. I sent y'all seen that Chuck Norris? Is that considered a meme?
Did you send that to me? Yeah,
I did send that to you. I sent that to the English speaking pastors last night. It was hilarious. What does it say? It said Chuck Norris got infected. It says Chuck Norris encountered COVID-19, and now COVID-19 is on a 14 or the virus is on a 14-day quarantine.
Man, could you imagine if you were still doing youth ministry right now? Like, could you imagine, man? The schools have been shut down for 2 weeks, right? Walnut High School. Yeah. Like, how would you feel if you were Pastor Kevin? Would you be scared? Would you feel as if, like, I don't know, like you're helpless? Like, what do you think you would do as a youth person? Because I mean, you've had youth ministry responsibilities before.
I mean, if I was Kevin, said, help me. If I was Kevin, I would feel great, because Kevin is creative. He's great with video. He's great.
You're right.
He's great with the social media. If it was me, yeah, I'd be afraid because my thing was preaching, expository preaching, and gathering people to preach and then doing small groups. But I guess we'd figure out to go online.
We didn't have any of this when we were doing youth ministry. We had like YouTube, but it was still a little bit like not widespread. Remember Don had a website for your sermons?
He did.
Was it unicoysermons.com? I don't think the domain exists anymore.
Yeah, unicoysermons.com. We were beyond GeoCities.
I wish that I had those sermons still. I should contact Don just to see if he has those early sermons, and then I'm going to repurpose them for content, since we need 8 weeks of social media content going forward.
That's some horrible stuff. I mean, I remember I was just screaming at the top of my lungs, standing on top of chairs. I think that stuff is probably socially unacceptable today for a youth pastor. I think the Calvinism was off the charts,
Yeah, I think so. I think so, man. Well, hey, thanks for taking this call. It's kind of late right now. We should get back to, I don't know, being in quarantine, I guess, being in self-isolation.
Get back to our families. Go
to sleep. Doing what responsible people should be doing. Thanks for taking this call. And I guess now that we did it once, maybe we'll do it again. Who knows? The possibilities are endless now.
Yeah, so am I supposed to keep my microphone and camera
on? No, I'm going to end this, and then it's just going to...
I'm just kidding.
It's just going to stop. Yeah, it's just going to stop. But sometime down the line, you and I should do an official podcast, just to
pick up the Walnut.
Pick up the podcast, just to get it out there. Maybe touch on some of these same things. Maybe touch on some other things. You and I got in a fight recently, so we need to address that. But I think we should do that on the podcast. I don't think we should do that here. It's not a safe space here. We should do that on the podcast. Thanks everybody for watching this. If you want Hanley to do more of this stuff, let him know. Give him a text message or an email. Yeah, let him know what's up. Thanks, Hanley, for doing this. Aaron. I'll talk to you later.
Night,
bye. Good night. Bye. Thanks, Pastor Hanley, and thank you everyone for listening to our podcasts here at FCBC Walnut. Don't forget to subscribe to Walnut Weekly, our social media email newsletter. We deliver fresh resources for free and provide peeks behind the scenes from the social media ministry at FCBC Walnut. Subscribe today to stay up to date so you never miss out. Find the link in the show notes, but you can also find the link under the resources menu on our website, fcbcwalnut.org. Please send us your questions and comments by emailing us at socialmedia@fcbcwalnut.org. We want this podcast to be useful and beneficial, but also fun and interactive for our listeners. Please let us know you listen and feel free to give us critique, comments, or questions. For more episodes, you can visit our archive at walnutcommentary.tumblr.com, and you can subscribe to our official podcast feed on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. Just search for FCBC Walnut. You will receive our latest sermons, podcasts, and more. For the latest info about our church, visit us online at fcbcwalnut.org. Thanks. See you soon.